My mother hates me. Hey guys, I'm Kamala, but you can call me Cam. Most people would think of their mothers as a loving and caring angel sent from above to watch over them. But my mom, she's pretty angelic and kind-hearted in nature, just not to me. So why I am so sure that my mother hates me, and why do I think she hates me? Click on the like and subscribe button and we'll find out. It all started a long time ago when my mother met and fell in love with a young man called my father. She should have stayed away from him. Everyone told her that he was bad news. He didn't buy her flowers like most other partners would, or tell her the cheesiest words some natural poets would say. So why did my mom choose my dad, especially when she could have had anyone else? You see, my father was a teenage delinquent, always breaking the rules, getting into trouble, skipping out on classes, going clubbing, and switching partners like toothbrushes. At first, my mother had outrightly refused his attempts at a relationship with her until the principal asked her to be his private tutor and help him get better at schoolwork. With time, my mother discovered a gentler side to my dad, a side that the world didn't know about. As much more meeker and caring side which showed in his actions and on some better days his words. With time, my dad learned to change and they fell in love and got happily ever after. Unfortunately, things didn't stay jolly for a long while cause eventually I was born and my parents had to deal with the hardships of raising a child. Things got harder financial-wise and my father couldn't afford to provide for us. My mother became the breadwinner of the family and my dad got depressed. My dad would drink himself to stupor before coming home and he and my mom would have fights about it. It got to a point that my mom got so angry she called him a good-for-nothing. My parents had a heart-to-heart one day and realized that they were no good for each other. So my dad took off and never looked back. My mom threw away all his pictures, clothes, shoes, and anything that could remind her of him except one thing: me. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how I styled my hair, I looked more and more like my dad as I grew up. My mom suddenly stopped looking me in my face. The next thing I knew, she was ignoring me. She would leave home without mentioning or providing what I could eat. I had to rely on oats in the kitchen, which happened to be one of the healthiest and most satisfying breakfast cereals, by the way, to keep me filled. Whenever I made an effort to impress my mother, it would go the wrong way and she would flare up. Mom, look at this thank you gift card I made for you. Did you use the glossy papers and the shiny stickers in the attic? You wasteful and ungrateful kid. And I bet you made sure to litter the floor with the wasted paper. But I was trying to make you happy. Oh, shut up. You're just like your father. You are grounded. I gasped in shock at my mother's heartful words and realized why she had never looked me in my face, and I ran as fast as my feet could carry me. For the first time in my 17 years on earth, I ran away from home. I suddenly realized that I had nowhere else to go. My friends' parents could call my mom, but I knew that I could find refuge in the church. In the church, it was so huge and I could easily hide among the pews. Unknown to me, she had even visited all my friends' homes in search of me. She had even visited the school, but to her surprise, I was nowhere to be found. My mom decided to make a last stop to the church to offer a word of prayer. I was scared when I saw my mom entering the church because I thought she knew I was there. But Allah, she didn't. Instead, she uttered the most shocking words of prayer. Dear God, I know it's been a long while, and I'm sorry that I chose this moment of trouble to talk to you. I really miss my daughter, and I'm so sorry that I treated her badly. She just looks so much like her father and reminds me of how much he hurt me. Please keep her safe and bring her back to me, and I promise to treat her right. With tears in my eyes, I walked toward my mother, who was staring at me with a dazed expression on her face. We hugged, while she continuously told me that she loves me so much. We walked back home with our hands held, and we lived happily ever after. My mom realized that getting hurt is inevitable, but we shouldn't transfer the aggression to others, especially the people who love us the most. And I also realized the importance of forgiveness, and I have learned to accept myself for who I am. Regardless of what I do, my father will always be the part of me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be like him. My parents threatened to disown me. Hello everyone and welcome back to ToonTies Tales. In this video, we will be telling you the story of a girl named Ashley. Hi, I'm Ashley, the daughter of two wealthy socialites. Many people envy the rich, but very few actually know the burdens of being rich or the gruesome pain associated with being born rich. As soon as I turned 6, the first thing my mother did was to introduce me to the world of modeling and ballet. She believed I had to look a certain way, and she would even often starve me by putting me on diet. At social events, my parents were always beaming whenever someone commented on how beautiful their daughter was or how talented I was as a child model. As I grew older, my mom realized that I had totally no talent whatsoever in ballet, so she decided to put a stop on it. I was so happy when this happened, but I tried my best not to let it show. My mom was always talking about how I had failed her, and she would always find a way to take it out on me at the slightest opportunity. My dad eventually got so tired of hearing my mom go on and on about how disappointed she was that he suggested that I get a job in the filming industry. Acting was something I enjoyed doing. After all, I had been doing it my whole life. Almost immediately after I started acting, my career took off. I starred in a breakout movie that won me an Oscar award. My parents were so excited that they decided to throw me a party. Noting my parents' festive mood, I decided to ask them for a private residence. My parents were initially against the idea, but eventually they gave in to my heart's desire. After I got my dream mansion, I was thrilled about being able to make my own decisions on what I wanted to wear or who I could be friends with. One day, I decided to drop by the farmer's market to get some vegetables when I met a tall, handsome trader who looked to be around my age. Luckily for me, I was fully disguised, so he had absolutely no idea who I was. I wondered why a young man like him had ventured into farming, but I said nothing. He introduced himself to me as John, and as soon as we got to know each other better, he revealed that he had started farming and selling his produce at the local market to raise his school fees. I was quite moved by what he had done, and soon we became close friends afterward. Later on, John discovered my true identity, but he didn't treat me differently. John eventually confessed his feelings for me and asked if I could go out with him, and I gladly said yes. Unfortunately, the tabloids got to know about our relationship, and the news spread like wildfire. A few days later, my parents dropped by and threatened to seize my credit cards and assets. They also threatened me to ruin my career or disown me if I wouldn't break up with John, but I refused to listen. I told them I was madly in love with John and I would not put their happiness over mine. For weeks, my parents and I said nothing to each other. But one evening, I was surprised when my mom rang the doorbell and told me she wanted to see me. I asked her why she had bothered to check me on after disowning me, but she burst into tears and told me that she had only been trying to protect me. She also told me that she wanted the best for me and she had only been trying to make sure that my life was perfect. I told her how the numerous restrictions she had placed on me had only made me full of self-hatred, and she apologized. She also told me about how my dad and her had been worried sick about me. My mom revealed that my dad was outside, waiting to hear the outcome of our meeting, and I immediately invited him in. My dad told me that they had tried to persuade me against marrying John because they wanted me to be well catered. But I told him that I was wealthy enough to take care of myself. I realized that my parents had been trying to care for me in their own way, but they had gotten things mixed up in the process. While my parents can't totally undo all their wrongs, I have realized that the people we care about the most often make the craziest of mistakes. But to err, it's human, and to forgive is divine. My parents also realized just how wonderful John was, and they apologized for judging him by his economic background. They also realized that it was wrong to judge people or treat them differently based on their social, economic, or cultural background. That's all on today's video. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Have a great day and thank you so much for watching this video.